Motorcycling is a world unto itself. The wind against your body, the asphalt whipping by just inches from your feet, the smells, the sounds, and the unobstructed views of everything around you. The exhilaration of the speed and the deep leans as physics holds you askance while you careen along, fully in tune with your machine. Yes, there is a deep sense of freedom to be found cruising the highways, throughways, and winding forest roads in the seat of a motorcycle. It isn't something you can find in a car. Driving, as they say, is just a spectator sport. To truly engage with your surroundings, it has to be done on two wheels. My surroundings are the beautiful Hudson Valley region of New York State, a quick ride north of New York City in the foothills of the Catskill Mountain region. There exists some of the best riding in this area, and with that comes great riders, and with that comes great stories. Today we're going to meet with one of the great motorcycle storytellers and discuss not only his extensive history writing articles for nearly every motorcycle magazine in circulation, but also the riding club he's currently with and all of the great things they do for charity. Speaking of charity, we'll also be meeting with a couple who has turned their personal tragedy into an organization focused on helping others in times of loss and need. So tighten your chin straps and prepare to ride with us on Next Story.
Hello and thank you for tuning in to The Next Story. I'm your host Justin DeMilan and I'm here today with LJ James and Brian, also known as Eclipse from the Red Barn Riders. How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
All right.
You may be familiar with LJ's name. You are a freelance
writer
who has been published in, I can't even begin to count how many different places.
A lot of different places, everywhere except Easy Rider, and hopefully that's going to be taken care of in the next couple of weeks,
so
the next couple months.
That's it. You got everything.
That's it. I got to retire now, So, but no, I mean, I love writing. I love writing, and I love writing. But it was funny because I had this guy in a bar kept saying, "Hey, join a bait, join a bait, join a bait. We're protecting biker rights." And finally, I was like, "Here's the $20." Like, so this guy would leave me alone. So at the time, I was living on the campgrounds, and we had an outhouse, a little outhouse there on the campgrounds. And every time I'd put we had a little bookshelf there, and I'd put the Abate newsletters there. And one day I was reading it, and it was talking about how they were going to ban anyone 16 years of age and under from riding on the back of motorcycles. And I thought, man, my childhood was me growing up, my father, my uncles, and I was like, wow.
That's how we all got into it.
Yeah, that's how I got into it. I'm just thinking, man, they're 16 and under. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I got involved more actively with Abate, and as I started doing it, I started writing for the Abate newsletter.
Oh, nice.
And people liked it. And then for years, I kept submitting things. I would submit stories to all these different biker magazines. And I got turned down over and over and over and over again. And then Full Throttle magazine was starting up on Long Island. I sent it a story on Nick's Waterfall House, which, I don't know if it's up in Gilboa, New York. It was a great place. It's not there anymore, but it was just like this classic biker bar in the middle of nowhere. So I did a story on that. They picked it up, and they wanted me to write for them. And then like a couple of months later, I'm getting phone calls from this magazine, from this magazine, from that magazine.
Oh,
and
nice.
I got magazines who turned me down. I had a magazine call me up and say, "Listen, we want to talk to you about that story you sent us." And I was like, "Oh, cool." I was all excited, like, "Well, they're going to publish my story."
Yeah.
And this is before Full Throttle. And the guy says to me, "Oh, your writing is very primitive." And I'm like, "You made me call you to tell me you don't like my writing?" I was like heartbroken. I was like, "Damn, man." I was like, "Okay." And I tried to play it cool. So years later, like a year or two later, when the guy called me up and said, "Hey, you wrote this story. We'd like to print it in our magazine. Is that okay?" Part of me wanted to say, "You sure it's not too primitive for you?"
Yeah,
but
right.
I was cool. I just went, "Oh, I'd love for you to print it." So, and I went from there. But then I've been writing ever since, and I love it. I mean, I grew up around my father and my uncles, and they were all bikers, and they taught me what it meant to be a biker. I think today's, biker world is great. I think it's getting back to where it was. I think Sons of Anarchy hurt us a lot, especially the motorcycle clubs. We're not a motorcycle, we're a riding club, the AMA Charity RC, the Red Barn Riders.
Okay.
But, I was in motorcycle clubs for years and all that, and very serious ones and everything. And I loved it. Don't get me wrong, I loved it, but then I got hurt and everything, and now I'm over here. I met these guys. I had no plans on ever being in a club again, and I met the Red Barn Riders, and It was everything. It was everything I was looking for. If I was going to start a club, it would have been the Red Barn
would have
Riders.
been the Red Barn
Yeah,
Riders,
they were just perfect and doing help and just helping everybody, doing charity stuff.
Brian, how did you get into Red Barn Riders?
I was at an event. It was Silver Linings
Yeah.
did an event for this gentleman called Z, or as everybody knows, Jerry Zimmerman.
Okay.
He's a legend in the world, and that man, to me, is kind of like my uncle.
Okay.
And I just was riding the day, and that's when LJ and our president Bill came up. They introduced me, and I was like talking around, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to come along?" and all this other stuff. And I was like, "Well, yes, but I don't ride a Harley. I ride the Can-Am." And first they walked over and, "How'd you say it?" You said, "Oh, that? No, you're not good."
Well, I told them, I said, listen, the one great thing about the Red Barn Riders is that we're not, brand specific,
Okay.
We don't say, listen, you have to have this, you have to have that. You have to have a willingness where you want to be with us and you want to have fun and you want to help people out. But it was funny because he had said, oh, well, I ride a Can-Am. And my president, Bill, had said, oh, it doesn't matter what you ride, it doesn't matter. And he goes, we go walking over and I go, oh, that's what you ride? No, that's not going to work. Just busting his chops. But he's gotten me back many times.
Oh, many times, yes.
So.
But in reality is I left retired from the United States Navy from
fantastic.
22 years. And it's a form of brotherhood
Yeah.
that was missing from my life. You had it with the military, everything else was going on, and then get with these guys, we're joking around, we're fighting, arguing and all this other stuff, but in all the end is I'll have my brother's back, just like they'll have mine, and that's what I was looking for.
This is something I've come across a lot, and I'm Navy myself. I did 6 years. And
Awesome.
I noticed, for a long time after I got out, that I don't know if emptiness is the right word, but just not being able to find that level of camaraderie again anywhere else. And so a lot of people that I've talked to that have gotten into RCs and MCs are prior military and looking for that bond again. That is almost irreplaceable.
It is.
It is. I mean, I wasn't in the military. Like I said, I was in a very serious club. I was in a 1% club on Long Island, and I got injured, and I got older. Listen, I tell everybody, people say to me, how could you go from 1% to an AMA RC? And I said, well, I love that life. I loved it. It was like being a celebrity. We were out at parties every night, going places on the bikes, going here all year long. It was like one of those TV shows. It really was. That was the life I was living. I loved it. And I got hurt and everything like that. And I figured, okay, my days of riding are over. My days of partying and everything like that are over. And I can't do like I used to do. But I was like, okay, I'm done with all that. And then I met the Red Barn Riders. I was at a Memorial Day thing. And I was there, and there was another club there, and they were doing like hamburgers, raise money for the vets. And I said, all right. So I went down there to get a burger to support the group. And while I was there, they said, hey, could you help me out? They had bought hot dog buns, and the hot dog buns weren't sliced. So I need someone to slice the hot dog buns.
Can you believe they even sell those?
I have no idea why they sell those. It makes no sense to me. But they did. So I said, sure, I'll help you out. No problem. I'm hungover from partying all weekend. So I'm sitting there slicing the things, and the Red Barn Riders show up, and they got there, and our president, Bill, he gets there, and he's one of those guys, he's like, you can tell I'm not shy to talk.
Yeah.
Bill's not shy to talk either. I mean, he just starts talking, me and him start rapping, and he reminded me of one of my friends from when I was younger, reminded me a little bit of myself, and I was like, all right, he's a cool guy, I like these guys. So I said, let me do a story on you guys. And as I did the story, I found out that they were just basically these 4 or 5 guys in a red barn in the town of Medusa, New York, working on motorcycles. That's who they were. And some things came to their attention that needed help. So they started helping with that. And then they started helping with this. And then people were like, oh, you guys are everywhere helping out. Who are you guys? So basically, they said, oh, well, we're the Red Barn Riders. Kind of like it started off as a joke.
Yeah.
And boom, then it became, they went and did the right thing and got the patch on the back, and they became an AMA RC helping out the community.
So now you mentioned that the AMA designation. So I know the AMA designation definitely, that those are separated from the one percenters, right?
Yes,
But
correct. Big
so we look at RCs and MCs. Are more RCs AMA designated?
I have no idea. I mean, listen, I've been writing on this stuff for years, and the one thing I've learned is that every area is different. Okay. So what's carved in stone over here could be completely different over here. And that's one of the things I write. When I write, I tell people all the time, listen, check with your area, because if you're reading this and you think what I'm saying is 100% fact, it's not. I tell everybody, this is advice I'm giving you. Generally, AMA is more of a family type club. Okay. It's less commitment. Whereas 1%, I don't want to speak for all 1% clubs, and from my experience, 1% club, the one I was with, it was very serious. I mean, sure. We had a lot of fun, but it was a commitment, you know. But even like I said, most 1% clubs, it's it's the club, your family, your job, because
in that order.
Well, not necessarily that order. It kind of because basically, like a lot of clubs, and even us, like I said, we tell people, if you're not taking care of your family and you're not taking care of your job, chances are you're not going to take care of your brothers. Okay. Now, again, that's not every club, but most clubs go by that philosophy.
Okay.
And like I said, people a lot of times say things like, "Oh, I joined a 1% club, or I do this, or I be in a club, but I got my family to take care of. I'm too busy." And it's like, listen, most bikers care more about their family than the average person. They're there. I mean, club guys, like I said, people who feel brotherhood are usually family people.
That makes sense too. Yeah.
So I mean, and I tell people, you got to feel brotherhood to get brotherhood back. I get a lot of people who join clubs and say, "I didn't feel the brotherhood," and I tell them, "Well, you weren't there. You always had, when you were there, you had a bad attitude, So, but you didn't put it in, So you expect people, you gotta be a brother to feel brotherhood. It's my opinion. Again, just my opinion.
So you find with the RC, you're in a place where the commitment's a little bit looser, but still the commitment to each other is that strong?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. And for me, like I said, a lot of people had said, and how could you go from that to that? And it's like, well, just like you guys are saying with the Navy, I had this strong brotherhood for so many years. I was a part of, and I loved my brothers. And then when it ended, it was like, okay. And then I got injured. I joined another club, but that one just didn't work out. And I was like, okay, I'm done. But living without it, and then like I said, when I met the Red Barn Riders, I did a story on them. Then I went to Nathan's ride, and I met the guys, and it's like these were just really nice guys. They were I was walking around talking to everybody, and I thought, man, it's what reason do I have? It's like, and the only reason I could think of was some of my old friends might say, you went from this to this, and I thought, but when have I ever cared what other people thought and all that? Right, yeah. So, and I said, you know what? And I like these guys. They're doing the right thing. They're a family group. We only have men in the club, but the wives and the girlfriends are very active in it. But they're not official members. They're honorary members.
You've got a lot of experience in around a lot of different clubs, and I've noticed most clubs, it's not just male dominated, but they tend to be pretty strict male. And then there's female riding clubs, and you never see male members in those riding clubs either. I don't know. Have you ever seen like a co-gender?
I see a lot of clubs. Yeah, there are a lot of clubs out there that have both men and women. Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
So, but I mean, generally they're AMA. I mean,
gotcha.
but like I said, and the main thing I can't stress enough is that it's different everywhere. So I don't like people say, "Oh, you've been around for a while, you know a lot." Right. But the one thing, even from Long Island to up here, things are a lot different. It's a lot different in different areas.
Okay.
So how things go. I mean, Long Island, everything is like Sunday. All events are on Sunday. Up here, all events are on Saturday. I mean, you do an event on Sunday, you don't get a lot of people. Yeah. But so it's just, I mean, even little things like that are just different.
Okay.
So.
And I have to tell you, with LJ here, and if this blows your head, I'm sorry, but you want to talk about a promoter. This man can promote the hell out of it. We started it's a winter barbecue that and the first year we had people from Long Island come up. You had all this. I was sitting at the door, excuse me, taking all the money and all, but oh my God, just seeing all these people coming up, you had Johnny from Merciful Mayhem comes up, then you had all these guys from Long Island showing up, and the bar, which was the legendary Blackthorn, was packed.
Yeah.
And
All thanks to you.
all thanks to him.
I want to say take all the credit, but I mean,
No, okay.
Well,
All thanks
it
to
is-
him.
Yeah, it was his idea to do it.
Well, one thing I gotta say about the club is that I do like to promote, and I focus on that when I'm doing something. I try to promote it and promote it and promote it. I'll go to like the little things. Like a lot of people forget, like they don't do flyers anymore. They'll forget about like the penny saver, you know, penny saver. So I try to hit every little outlet, you know, try to get that I can. But with the winter barbecue, that surprised me too. I mean, I went crazy with that, but I think a lot of that happened. I'll take some credit for it, but it was really cold for like a couple of months, and then that weekend that we did it was really nice.
Okay, so you got a little bit of help from Mother Nature.
Yeah, Mother Nature.
Well, the other
definitely
thing
helped
it's about is this: we also did it the weekend before the Super Bowl, so there was nothing going on.
Oh, see, that's
smart.
good thinking, right?
A lot of people, they'll have a big party like the last football game, and then they have a party, and then all of a sudden it's that weekend, they're like, oh, there's nothing going on.
Now, speaking of your promotions, you've got to have quite a bit of connections within the motorcycle community, not just from being published in dang near every motorcycle publication out there, but you were also on a motorcycle radio show.
I had a motorcycle. I did the Biker Lowdown, which was my show. I did for like 2.5 years.
Okay.
That show I did from my old clubhouse, and my old member Big Tom Berg, which was one of the greatest brothers I've ever had. It was a great guy. I would do the show, and he would help me out. And when he was killed in a bike accident, I did the show a couple weeks later, and it was just like, it broke my heart all over again. It's like, you know, he was my brother, you know, and I lost him, and he was a part of the show. So I kind of slowly, the guy called Hammer and Hank actually took it over, and I was going to go back, and then I just never did. You know, things happened.
And then I understand you've had some parts with other motorcycle.
I help
radio
out with
shows as well?
Motorcycle Mayhem Radio, which is a great, you know, by Johnny Rizzo. Johnny Rizzo is a character. I mean, we have great people that come on that show, and we have a lot of good times. But going back just a step, when I joined the Red Barn Riders, I went out to promote and do things like put out flyers and get sponsors for certain events for like T-shirts on the back and thing, and people knew the club. So it was like, oh, we know the Red Barn Riders, we know this. So the club already had a great name, and people knew that they were a charity organization. So it's really easy to sell something that people already love, you know?
Sure, yeah.
So I can't take all the credit. You know, there's a lot that the club had done way before I got around, and they'd already had a good name locally. I've helped to put the name a little further out.
Well, the nice thing about it is my first year with the Red Barn Riders, the Nathan's Ride. To go forth on that, I was memorized or at all with them during that time because we raised enough money for that young man to go down to Disney World, and he's a special needs child. He's in a wheelchair for the remainder of his life, and it's just was so nice to see.
Yeah.
Because you always hear, you know, all these bad stories about bikers. To see this, raising money and enjoying it and camaraderie and everything else, you know, I just met like 4, 5 dozen people really, and you know, they all come up, give you a hug, all this other stuff, and it's like, what? Wait, I'm not used to that.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's such a thing. And then last year was our, we didn't have the numbers like we did the first year because...
It rained.
No, get it right.
No,
It was
Nathan's Ride it's an annual event every
annual
year?
event,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And like I said, last year, yes, it did rain, but it was more of a monsoon that we rode in.
Horrible.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I put the joking thing is we're not the Red Barn Riders, we're the Red Barn Rain Riders.
Well, like he was saying before, though, is that, you know, you get a lot of negatives. You know, you only hear, a lot of times you go out, you only hear the negative stuff. You know, like, oh, this happened or that happened. And like I've said, people have asked me over the years, why? And I said, because it sells.
Yes.
It sells, man.
It doesn't matter if you're talking about bikers or police or anything really. Negative press.
Negative press always sells, but bikers are have become like America's bad boys. You know,
Sure.
it's like
Yeah.
we're all over the world and all that. But I think the biker image, it definitely is an American concept that started here. I remember after 9/11 happened, I was going to a bike. I was actually flying down. I know I didn't ride down, but I was flying down to a bike event, and it was Biketoberfest, and I felt like a celeb. Like everybody was like, "Oh, thank God you're here!" Like people wanted, people turned to the bikers, to the outlaw bikers and all that, and 1% bikers and all of them. America embraced us at that time. At least I noticed that. To me, it just seemed like a very big thing. They wanted the bikers around because when the bad people from outside this country come, and we're not the bad guys, but we are the men. And the best thing I think I've ever heard, the analogy of, like I said, people say, of a biker or a 1%er or whatever you want to do, is that you want to classify it as, is that we stand up for what's right. If you're at a party and there's things going on, and let's say there's one person there and he's being a jerk and all that, 99% of people are going to be like, I want nothing to do with that person. I'm just going to ignore it, pretend like it doesn't happen. But a biker or someone who has that spirit is going to say, listen, you got to go. They're going to take up, a true biker doesn't stand by and watch bad things happen. And that's why I think they get the image of it, of being the bad boy, because they take care of business, and they do it to be right, not in a bad way. It's like, listen, sometimes someone's got to go over and tell, this guy, you got to go home. Yeah. You ruined the party for everybody, but most people won't. Most people just want to live their lives. Yeah. So, like I said, I haven't been a 1%er for years, so I don't want to speak for that too much, but it's just, the bikers get a lot of bad press. Sure. And that's one of the reasons I started writing, and is to put out there and let people know and try to help.
Now, most of what you write, it sounds like it's not the fictional stories. You're writing, nonfiction articles.
I do both. I definitely do both. Some of my stories, like I said, I had a story of one of my favorite stories was I wrote, and I got a huge response. Was a Small Town Brawl, it was called. And in the story, it's about these two groups that show up at a bar, and then a fight breaks out. Okay. And the story leads you to believe that it's two different rival motorcycle clubs. At the end of the story, you realize it was two different sports teams. And the sports teams got let go with a warning. And, it was like, oh, they got misdemeanor release, disorderly conduct. Whereas had it been two motorcycle clubs, it would have been like TV movies and all that.
Gotcha.
And the reason
it's also unless, Navy versus Marines in a bar,
Yeah. But the reason that story came about was because I was working at a job, and the guy working there was an off-duty police officer. And he had said, yeah, I work over, he was telling me the town he worked in. And in that town was a very well-known biker bar. Okay. And he said, it's so funny, he goes, because for years, they tell me to watch this bar. And he goes, never been a problem. But every night, go over, make sure you watch that bar, keep an eye on it, it's going to be trouble over there tonight. And he goes, never is. He goes, meanwhile, the sports bar down the road fights 5 times a night, this going on, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. But there's also the problems. He goes, but they always tell me, watch that bar. Because people ride motorcycles. So.
And the other thing is also my side note is with the club is recently I lost my mother.
Sorry to hear that.
Cancer, the best thing. And these guys were right there. They actually escorted my mother to the cemetery. Came over, hung out with my mom, all other stuff, and then that's also the one reason I became a minister, because she wanted one of us to be one of my brothers, because there's 4 of us, become a priest. And when I was younger, I was thinking about it, but then when I found out you can't get laid, I was like, nope, I'm going Navy. But recently I became it, and then we've done beautiful things with it. We did a bike blessing that, with his help, we put together, and I was literally shocked by how many people showed up.
Yeah.
And we had the interviews by Channel 10, and it was just a great time. But I will, in a truthful sense, when he talks about the brotherhood and we talk about it, I'll lay my life down for him and anybody else that wears this patch. So.
Well, it's what brotherhood is about. I wrote something that years ago, basically stating, if you have to even think about whether or not you're going to lay your life down for your brother, is he really your brother?
That's solid.
That's
Yeah.
It depends what he did.
Right.
What kind of answer is that? Depends what he did. He's your brother. So,
Yeah.
but like he's saying, the brotherhood. To me, like I said, listen, this motorcycle world and the club world and all of it, and just life in general. I mean, respect is important.
Yeah.
Respect is always important in any aspect of your life, and you should never let anybody disrespect you and all that. And I've said a lot of times, you can give away your respect. No one can take it from you. It's one of my philosophies. But what we get is that respect has become, in some places, too important. Or it's important, but brotherhood should be like the shining thing when it comes to motorcycling.
The tip of the pyramid,
and it should be bigger than everything else. You got respect, you got protocol, you got tradition. These are all important things. But I think the blanket should always be brotherhood. I've had guys when I was in the club world. I'm still when in the MC world. I have guys that didn't talk to me for like a year or so, and then when they talk to me, they say, I'd be like, "Oh, you didn't talk to me for like a year. I've been around." And they say, "Too many people come and go." He goes, "I don't waste my time until I know someone's going to be around for a while."
Okay.
And I can understand that, but at the same time, I do the opposite because I think sometimes people don't stay around because they don't feel welcome.
So embrace them from the beginning.
Yeah, and you've got to teach a lot of people to. You can't teach brotherhood. You can't. People either have that or they don't. But you got to be able to teach them what the meaning is. Mm-hmm. Like someone who sees something. If you see a baseball game going on, over there, you're not going to care about it. But if your brothers are on that team, you're going to root for them like crazy. You're going to be there for it. So it's bringing people in, but it's also bringing the right people.
Okay.
I've had people listen. I consider myself a smart guy. I may be wrong, but I've had people come in and tell me, like different clubs over the years and say the right things, act the right way and all that. And they would just meet people. They were just there for what they could get out of it. Yeah. And they totally, fooled me. And, it's hard, The
nice part about it is was last year, beginning around this time, not this time, but probably in January, I came up with the idea and talking to him about doing bike nights.
Oh, yeah.
And he got the rest of the club on board and pretty much ran with it, which I'm also grateful because I had to learn, and that's who I was learning from is him. And we do it at the Blackthorn again, and literally, it's just turned into absolutely fabulous time.
So now, when you guys go to, I'm very familiar with Blackthorn, one of my favorite places. With Mountain Thunder and Rat's Nest running, and they're just always doing really cool stuff. Do you guys get down there a lot, and do you guys Red Barn Riders particularly when you do an event, is it like hosted by you guys, or are you doing co-ops with other RCs?
No, we don't do it with any other RCs. We just really do it with us.
Okay.
But
except we do have there's a toy run that a lot of clubs work on. We're a toy drive that a lot of clubs in the area work on together, but we keep the names kind of low key. It's not about the club, it's about the toy drive.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
More about the community, doing it for the community.
Yeah, the community. But with Blackthorn, basically, we got involved with them because we had done the Winter Barbecue, and I've known the handles for years and all that, covering different events over there, and they've always been real nice to me. And I've watched them over the years, like they do a lot for their community. So when we were thinking about doing a bike night, I live 5 miles from the Blackthorn.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and I love the place, and it just seemed like a give me, like, okay, you've got a great biker-friendly place that people love to go to. You want to do a bike night, and, like we do a lot of events where we're trying to raise money for charity. The bike night is just for fun. We're there just to have a good time and get to know people.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of the other clubs in the area have come by. We've gotten to know them, become very friendly with them.
So how often do you do the bike nights there?
We do them June, July, and August. We just had our first one in June.
Okay.
Which is June the 10th, was it 12th?
12th.
June 12th, yeah. And then we got July 10th. So
Okay.
by the time this airs, it'll be old past. But, you know,
But hopefully you do it again next year.
Oh, well, this is
God,
our
yeah.
second year doing it. Our second year
cool.
doing it, so we want to do it again. And we end it with a battle of the bands.
Oh, yeah.
And last
that's
year,
so cool.
oh yeah, last year we had these great bands, and the place was packed, and people loved it. I mean, it was funny because we got phone calls. The club got phone calls and emails afterwards. Can you add one more bike night? Can you add one more bike night? And it's like, as much as we'd like to, you know, Blackthorn does Catskill Mountain Thunder, which is their big event, and
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
it's a phenomenal event. People come from all over the world to go to it. So it's kind of hard to do a bike night on Wednesday night when Catskill Mountain Thunder is going
Sure,
on.
yeah.
You know, Wednesday night. So, yeah.
So you guys, is that kind of home base for you, or do you guys have multiple other places?
Multiple other places. Like
Okay.
I said, we like them a lot. I mean, it's one of our favorite places, don't get me wrong, but, you know, like we did the bike blessing at
Yanni's too.
Yanni's too, which is another great place. The one thing I really like about this area, the Catskill, you know, the Catskill region, is just how many places are biker friendly. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really surprising, you know. And like I said, I'm coming from Long Island. I get pulled over, you know, you get the police, they pull you over, they see a biker, and they give you a really hard time.
Yeah.
I've been pulled over up here, and the cops are actually friendly. And to me, that's like a foreign concept. You can have a cop be friendly to you.
Well, that's the
It's
the
like-
story of it is last year on a bike night, I think it was the
second one. It was
The second one, yeah.
the second one.
one of our
July.
members who actually lives in Stillwater apparently flew out because, you know, it was 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night and leaving thing. And he has what some would consider the crotch rocket.
Okay.
And his motto is, you know, drive it like you stole it.
Okay.
So he was flying down, and apparently state troopers pulled him over. And our president got notified by people who said, hey, one of your members got pulled over, all this other stuff. And like 5 seconds later, he got let go because Red Barn Riders patch.
Well, they knew, like I said, we do a lot of charity things.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, we try to help out everybody. I mean, and word like that gets out. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and I did, like I said, when I was on Long Island, I did toy drives for years down there. And I did a lot of, you know, with the clubs and on my own. And there's nothing nicer when that comes back to you. Like, because people hear about it, like, that police officer, who knows? We might have helped out his cousins, aunts, sisters,
Sure,
kid,
yeah.
you know? We done a fundraiser for that. So word gets around.
And you don't realize that, you know you're having an effect on somebody, but you don't realize how many people that spreads through. You know, when you're doing something positive for one person, how many people see that, and how
ripple
many lives
effect.
you're touching.
Yep.
Yeah, the ripple effect.
Ripple
Yeah.
effect. One of the things I like the most is, and I don't like I said, I don't like to use club names of any other clubs and all that, but it was a very well respected club, and they said to us at one of the events, they said, you know, the things you do make all of us look good. And you know, to me, it was like, wow, you know,
Yeah.
thank you for saying that, because that's what we're going for. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, it's not just about us saying, hey, the Red Barn Riders did that. We want people to say and know, and that's been my whole life. You know, not to make it about me and all that, but my whole life and the writing, the DJing, everything that I've done is to help teach the next generation and to show everybody. Listen, Sons of Anarchy is a TV show, all right? Clubs aren't like that. You know, they're out there doing great things all the time, and all you hear about is the negative. You know, there's just so many great things going on that just don't get reported.
But see, put in a quote from somebody, we won't mention his name, to describe
Is it
the-
LJ again?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, all right.
Don't want to get his head too big, you know, he's got to ride back. Got to fit in the helmet. But
a lot of quotes.
to describe the Red Barn Riders is if the Dukes of Hazzards were a motorcycle club, they would be the Red Barn Riders.
Yeah, I've said that. Yeah,
Love it.
Because, like I said, that's what the club. I mean, they're just a bunch of good old boys, and that's what I liked about them. You know,
Not
just-
meaning no harm.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, no harm. Just looking to help out a little bit. You know, someday the mountain might get them.
It is our theme song.
Well, excellent. Thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate this.
All right, my pleasure.
And we'll keep an eye out for events being put on by the Red Barn Riders.
All right,
All right.
thank you
Thanks
very
a lot,
much.
man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
LJ James has been instrumental in spreading the word regarding the ins and outs of the motorcycle community, both through written articles and through radio shows. His passion has found a home in the Red Barn Riders RC and all of the charity work they do. certainly draws attention to the fact that nearly every organized ride you see advertised on social media is about collecting money to help someone in need. Sometimes, it takes more than just money to get through the tough times. Gears in Heaven is an organization dedicated to helping people keep their lives on track when tragedy occurs. No one knows this better than Jeff and Jennifer Filastro, the driving force of Gears in Heaven. I rode out to Connecticut to meet with them in their home and learn more about what it is they do. This is their story.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to The Next Story. I'm your host, Justin De Milan, and I'm here today with Jeff and Jennifer Filastro from Gears in Heaven. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you for having us, Justin.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Justin.
So tell me about Gears in Heaven.
So we're a nonprofit 501c3 organization, and what we do is we assist families of motorsport enthusiasts that have been killed or seriously injured in a vehicle accident. What we do is we get in touch with these families that have these tragedies occur to them, and we see how we can help them any way we can. Sometimes it's an emotional support that we do. We help them with fundraisers. We help them with counseling if they need it. So whatever really the niche is that the family needs is kind of like where we fit in.
If they need help with chores and errands, doing little things around the house, mow the lawn, bring the garbage down, there's people that can do those kind of things. That way the family can really just concentrate on being together, taking care of their loved one, and they feel like they don't know what the next step is, because there is a big process involved, especially if someone passes. There's probate, you have to clean out apartments or what have you, or if there's children involved, it's 18 years plus. So we're kind of there on that back end to be that support system and networking for others who've experienced or sometimes had even worse, and kind of deliver and say, these are the next steps. This is what you need to do. You need to contact this person. You need to do that.
That is absolutely fantastic. You guys, how long have you guys been doing this?
So it officially June 10th of 2022.
Will be
our
2 years.
2 years. Our son Brandon was killed on his 22nd birthday, May 1st of 2022. Brandon was a huge motorsport enthusiast. Cars, trucks, motorcycles, bikes, snowmobiles, whatever. And he worked at Max BMW Motorcycles right down the road over here. And on that morning there was a huge car show at the school right over here. So he was off from work that day. They had a huge demo day, but he was off because it was his birthday. But his friends were setting up their cars at the car show, so he left his car and took the bike to go meet his friends in Danbury, the next town from us, and have celebratory birthday breakfast, and all come back to the car show and have a good time and not ride their bikes. And that was kind of like their thing. And Brandon didn't make it. He was killed right here on Route 7. A driver pulled a left over the double yellow line right in front of him, and he couldn't even dump nothing.
There was no skid marks. He had no chance.
So everyone heard there was a bike down. Looks like Brandon's bike. So we came down the hill. Everyone from the car show came. Everyone from Max BMW came.
There was hundreds of people
Hundreds
there.
of people at the scene. And we realized we had a lot of resources and family and support. And looking in the crowd, there was going to be a lot of families. If the shoe was on their foot, they wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
It all morphed into Gears in Heaven. That was the name of our celebration of life for Brandon up at Lime Rock. And the next family that we helped needed a tent at their farm. We had all that stuff. So we said, let's make this a thing. But now there's talk of national chapters popping up across the country.
Oh,
Alaska,
wow.
Arizona. Everyone knows somebody.
Now, is that something that the two of you are heading up, or is this all independent?
Right now, it's independent people reaching out and saying, I lost someone in Florida. This is great. What can we do? Can you guys come down here? And
No, we can't go down there, but
we can't. But the beauty of it is everything that we do is something that anybody can do. There was organizations that work for just like the biker that's down, but there was nothing for the family, for the people left behind.
we've met so many wonderful people. We never wanted to meet the people that we met, obviously, because of how we met them. But We're actually very good friends with a lot of the people that in the families that we've helped. They reach out all the time, holidays, Christmas, blah, 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 blah. So it's been nice to develop new friendships with these individuals where you don't know what to say to new friends. You meet new friends at a bar or you go out or whatever, or through work, and you don't have a connection like you do when someone else loses a son or a daughter in an accident. This is just a separate, totally different world that you have to deal with, and a lot of people can't identify with that. So, or they want to talk about their loved ones and they feel like they can't because the other person's going to get freaked out about it or whatever. At least with them, they can call me and say, had a really bad day today, I just want to talk about it. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Just, sound off what you want to sound off and we'll get through it together,
That's it.
Yeah.
That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
The way that you have been able to take a terrible situation, a tragedy, and be able to create something wonderful out of it and share it with other people. And
Right.
this has got to be, I can only imagine, this has got to be healing for you as well to be able to help like
Very
this.
bittersweet.
We say that all the
Sure.
time. Bittersweet is a very good saying for us. Yeah.
Exceptionally hard and emotional, especially at events that we attend in person. We have a big branded tent, and we hand out safety literature and pamphlets, and all the other people around us are selling fun things and happy things and t-shirts and hats,
bubbles and
people come over to us and like, what's this all about? And we're like,
Depression and
yeah,
sadness.
depression, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, it's not very cheery.
And it's hard.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not easy, that's for sure.
And
But you can lay down and try to make plans to leave the earth, or you can do something with that pain. You know what I mean? So that's what we decided to do. And people say, how do you do it? You're so strong. Well, we still cry a lot, we still go through our grief, and that'll be forever. But there is something very healing in talking with another mother or talking with another father, like with him, that just, it's like, okay, I'm not alone.
And we meet a lot of people, especially in the motorcycle community. There's some really hard guys that feel that they can't talk to the rest of their friends about what had happened or how they, it's anonymous, man.
Yeah.
No one knows.
Just give us a call.
No, you
That's a
talk-
great point because, there is a shield that I think a lot of people put up over their grief.
And a lot of
Yeah.
MC guys or girls, they're
Well, they don't want to show it.
they're paramedics, they're cops, they're veterans. Like, they've seen some heavy stuff, but when it happens to your own, it's totally different.
Totally
And
different.
That's what resonated with me. I thought I was a hard guy, and the scene, hearing my wife howling and screaming, it's his birthday, no, seeing my son in the middle of the road under a sheet, it humbled me. It crumbled me. So I can only imagine someone who's never experienced something horrific happen in their life, what it does to them. And we've actually met those people. And they're losing their minds, they're losing their homes, they're losing their jobs, they're losing their family.
You guys have a website, I'm assuming?
Yes.
We do, yeah.
Yes.
Gearsinheaven.org.
Okay.
Yep. And
Does it detail some of what you offer?
It does, yeah. It tells about the services that we offer. There's a form where people can request assistance, a form where people can sign up to be a volunteer, get our
just gonna ask
newsletter.
about
We have a tribute wall page that we started this year where families
can send in
can
pictures.
send in pictures or video and little stories about their loved one, and we put it on our site, and it's evergreen. So there's always a living
Tribute.
tribute to their loved one.
Do you guys have a core group of volunteers, or do you find that it's kind of
We just
flowing?
put out, it kind of ebb and flows. We
Yeah.
have thousands of followers on the social media channels, several hundred on our email list for our newsletters and our volunteer page. We kind of just put out the news out there. Hey, these are the events we're doing. These are the things we're looking for. Jennifer and I, we attend memorial services. We do have other volunteers that have gone to memorial services if they're able to attend and it's outside like the immediate area. So that's what Gears in Heaven was intended to do. So it's working.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for
Thank
talking
you.
with me. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Justin,
this
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you so
Coming
much.
down.
Yeah.
having us.
Yeah.
It's
It's been
great.
great.
Absolutely. So Gears in Heaven. Keep an eye out.
Motorcycling breathes life into so many great stories, giving the rider a more tactile way to traverse between destinations. For most of us, the ride itself is the destination, and the places we stop or end up are simply a part of the journey. Throughout the next episodes, we will be meeting motorcycle riders, story writers, and musicians, all of whom have managed to capture the spirit of what it is to ride a motorcycle. So let's enjoy the journey and our many stops along the way. Join us here on The Next Story.